I bet you when you're getting ready for church, you had no idea you're going to experience history, huh? We're going to receive our tithes and offerings. So if you need an envelope for your giving, why don't you slip up your hand and one of the ushers will serve you. We can go ahead and turn on our Bibles to Matthew chapter 9, verse 36. It says, "When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, 'The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field.'" You know, what a special day it is to be here. We look at all this sea of blue. Look at all these workers that are being sent out into the harvest. Amen. You know, the cool thing about a harvest, it always starts with a seed. You can't have a harvest without first a seed that is sown. And we look in this room today and we see seeds that were sown financially. Many of the congregation, much of you have poured into your time and money into producing a class like this. And the class of 2011 here who has sown time, they've sown their efforts, they've sown work, and every Tuesday night for a year. And the dedication that is put, that seed has turned into a harvest, which we see here today. Amen. And I want to look at John chapter 12, verse 24. I love this verse. It says, "Except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abides alone. But if it dies, it brings forth much fruit." Brings forth much fruit. You know, there's another verse that says, "For I no longer live, but Christ lives in me." It says, "I have been crucified with Christ, and so I no longer live, but Christ lives in me." It takes that seed that's in your hand, it's no good unless it's in the ground. You know, if we have seeds, many of us, we have God's given us resource, and that resource is of no value if it's in your hand, because it's not going to produce a harvest in your hand. You can eat the seed and feed yourself for a minute, but if you put the seed in the ground, it's going to produce a harvest. So there's many things we see here. We see a congregation who has sown seed that's going to produce workers for the harvest field. And then we see workers who have poured their time and their money. They've taken the gift. The Bible talks about wisdom, and wisdom is supreme. It says, "Therefore, get wisdom and then get understanding." So these students have sown their time, they've sown knowledge, they've sown efforts, and so they could produce wisdom, a harvest of wisdom. Amen? So everybody here in this room, it's not just about these students, it's about all of us here with the goal of sending out workers to the harvest and reaching the lost. And so there's a dynamic thing that's happening here.